are the lines from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, the prologue. When that April with his showers sought, I repeat, when that April with his showers sought, the drought of March hath burst to the road. I may repeat, the drought of March hath burst to the road and bathed every vein in sweet liquor, of which virtue endangered is the floor. So these are the opening lines. I may repeat, when that April with his showers sought, the drought of March hath burst to the road and bathed every vein in sweet liquor, of which virtue engendered is the floor. So these are the lines, and we may call it Old English or you may call it Middle English also. I may allow you couple of minutes rather. You may just think it over. Try to find out what do you mean by this. If you can comprehend, well and good. Otherwise, I may help you. So just go through quickly, think it over for some time, and then I'll tell you the meanings. Okay, start. Yes, friends, I hope those who are reading Chaucer, they may not find it very difficult because their teachers and other sources might have helped them to make out the meaning. But for those who read Chaucer for very first time, they would think that Chaucer was like most of our students who were very poor, who are very poor at English, and here is the one excellent example who of the poet who does not know the spelling of when. See the spelling, WHAN, and if I write this spelling of when in my paper, then teacher would make me a cross mark and allow me a 0 mark only. But see, this is the father of English poetry, modern English poetry, and see the spelling. See the spelling of April again, and you may feel that yes, Chaucer was very poor in spelling. No, it was not the case. It was the English which was used during those days. So I would like to highlight how the language has developed over the years. This is the language that was spoken in 13th and 14th century during the Middle English period, and Chaucer is using the same language. It has its root again in the Old English period, that was the starting point of which is the 5th century. So very often we may feel that it can be Old English also. Now most spellings are rather uncommon, and many spellings you find that yes, we do not know the meaning simply because we don't find these words into any latest kind of dictionary. For example, the word SOTE, sword, which you don't find in your dictionary. Again, in the third line we have got word VEYNE. I may repeat, I may remind you, Chaucer was not very poor in spellings. All the spellings he has written, they are correct, but simply because they belong to Old English or Middle English, we find it difficult, and it is the difficulty which most readers find when they come across Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English poetry, for the very first time. Especially when they attempt to read the Canterbury Tales, they are fed up with the strange looking spellings and words. So these are the opening lines. You may just forget to go above that lines simply because it is the Old English. Now for your convenience, as I assured you that I may help you, here is the prose paraphrases of these lines, and you may laugh at yourself, and you may also laugh at Chaucer if you wish, simply because there is a huge gap between the English we speak and the English that is used by Geoffrey Chaucer. Now see the paraphrase of these opening lines of Canterbury Tales, the prologue part. It is very easy, and you may compare the two, the Old English or the Middle English and the paraphrase English over here. So I have given you some examples. For example, I talked about when we write WHEN today, and no teacher would allow, or no one would allow you to write WHN. You cannot claim, no, Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of modern English poetry, wrote WHN, so I must be allowed to use that language and that spelling. No, because as I told you, this is the journey of English language. The nicer part is this: see the spellings also, see the grammar also, and see the words. There are plenty of words which have turned obsolete today, but you still find them in the writings of Geoffrey Chaucer and his contemporaries, but which we don't use at all today, and no dictionary, very few dictionary may carry these words. So this is the journey, this is the development of English language. So we must take into account how it has developed and what huge variety of English is available to us. So see the spelling of when, how it changed, and no one would think that it could have been WHAN. Again, the next spelling is April. In the writings of Chaucer, you find double LE, and here it is standardized English, which is APRIL. And see the language. He may not consider grammar very seriously because that was the pattern. But see the description. I think this is March, and after few days there will be April, and spring we have been experiencing over here. He is describing the same language, same atmosphere. So I have picked up these lines precisely to show how the things are so relevant even today. So the paraphrases, I would be happy to read it out for you, and you may also go on comparing. When April with its sweet showers. You may remember the spelling SOTE used by Chaucer, and no one would find the meaning in any dictionary, but that has developed to sweet, SWEET. This is the development, this is the journey of English. How you can distinguish the one word from the other, it is rather difficult, but we must read it simply because if we are interested in going through the journey of English language. And showers, again, the spelling of Chaucer and spelling over here in the modern English is widely different. So this is the prose paraphrase of these opening lines of the prologue of the Canterbury Tales, written by Geoffrey Chaucer in the 14th century, and he is considered still, despite he used this English, the father of modern English poetry. So I may read for you. When April with its sweet showers has penetrated the dry earth of March down to the roots of trees, and bathed every vein into moisture. Now you say there is blooming of new flowers and new leaves. This is what he describes in moisture, such that from its vital power, spring, the flowers are blooming. Why not have a look, go on a morning walk and find in the nearby areas how the new leaves, the new flowers are blooming on the trees. If you pass by a road where you find mango trees, for example, and one need not tell you that the tree next to you is mango tree, and the sweetness of that mango tree is itself the proof that spring is in. And here is Chaucer who describes the same thing of March, the spring. So what happens? Bathe every vein in moisture, such that from its vital power the flowers are blooming. Now if you go back to the slide of Canterbury Tales, and if you compare again to this prose paraphrasing in modern English, you will certainly feel, see the spelling of flower, and it is floor, and you can say third floor, fourth floor, or something like that, or wheat floor, something like that, but it is FLOUR in Old English or Middle English, and which has turned into FLOWER, flower. SOTE, SOTE is SWEET. This is the development, this is the journey of English. So please take into account that this is also the English, but it is at the root, and the tree of English has developed with full flourishing over across the years and centuries. So salt has become sweet, and no one is sure what it would become tomorrow, though we feel that now it is standardized because of printing and other electronic media, but still no one is sure. I may talk about that also later on, but see the spellings. Now I may turn to other English poet, Edmund Spenser. And Edmund Spenser is also a well-known poet of Victorian age. So he was a contemporary of William Shakespeare, and his best known work is the Fairy Queen. See the spelling of Fairy Queen. Have you come across this spelling? And what if you write this spelling when you are writing about fairy, and see the spelling of queen? You find, is it correct? The Fairy Queen. This is the title of his best known work. In a way, it is a masterpiece of Edmund Spenser, who was a contemporary of William Shakespeare, and his time is from 1552, and still the birth date is doubtful, and his dates are from then to 1599. And see the spelling. This is again a journey of English language. So right from the title I may take you to some of his lines, but see the spelling again. I may draw your attention to the title, the Fairy Queen, and the spelling. So I may remind you, he was not like Chaucer again, poor at English spellings. No, like Chaucer, he also used the same English. That is why we find the spelling of fairy, which we spell today, is FAIRY, but here it is FAERIE. And if you write this spelling in your answers, then teacher would make a cross mark and give you a 0. Again, the same is the problem with the spelling of queen. Actually, it is not a problem. It is the standard English which was used in those days. So the spelling of queen, QUEENE, that is the spelling of Edmund Spenser, and who was a great master of English poetry and not poor in English spellings. Still, he is writing this English, which is also the English which was used during those days and which was standard in those days. So don't feel that the writers of 14th century, 15th century or 16th century also were very poor in English. No, certainly not. That was the English, and that is the development, how it developed from Chaucer to present day. So don't go for spellings, don't try to find faults with the spellings. Very important part is this: though he belongs to the modern English period, his English is also difficult to follow, though not so difficult as Chaucer's. I told you that is development. So Chaucer is very difficult for most of the readers, but that is not the case with Edmund Spenser, who was born a century after Chaucer's life. So he is difficult, but not certainly so difficult as Chaucer. And let us try some of the lines from his famous poem. I have picked up actually a sonnet, and now see, and these are very interesting lines. You will certainly feel that yes, that is what you have been doing in the college. Yes, to some extent yes, and try. This is the sonnet written by a young Spenser almost 500 years back. Again, I may remind you, there are no spelling errors, there are no grammatical errors. He is perfect in every respect. But the problem, if you find, is only in the English, because I am talking about the journey of English through poetry, English poetry. See the language now. I may read it for you, and I may again allow you some time to think it over, and you may find yes, Edmund Spenser is difficult, but certainly not so difficult as Chaucer. So his language is also Old English, Middle English to some extent, but not the English which we use today. So I may read it and I may allow you some time to find out the meanings. This is from the sonnet by Edmund Spenser. One day I wrote her name upon the strand. See the spelling of upon. I may draw your special attention towards some spellings which are, for example, this upon the strand. But came the waves. Again see the spelling, and there is no spelling error, and washed it away. Next line, again I wrote it with a second hand, but came the tide and made my pains his prey. Interestingly, if I read out, you may not find that it is rather very difficult. But if you read the lines for yourself, then you find yes, it is certainly rather boring, or it has got plenty of errors in terms of spellings. So what I said, that his language is difficult, but not so difficult as Chaucer's English. And read it again, I may read it out, and if you can look at the slide, you may try to find out the meaning. I may allow you some time. I may read it again for you. If you listen to what I am reading out for you, you may not find it difficult to follow. But if you read for yourself, then you will certainly feel that yes, the English is very difficult in Spenser's poem. I may read. One day I wrote her name upon the strand, but came the waves and washed it away. Again, see the spelling, Agayne. Again I wrote it with a second hand, but came the tide. See the spelling of tide, and made my pains. See the spelling of pains his prey. Now these are the lines taken from the sonnet written by Edmund Spenser, and